The glory of championship belts and knockout highlights captivates millions of MMA fans worldwide. But behind this brutal beauty lies a silent epidemic destroying fighters' brains. Today, we expose 5 warriors systematically destroyed by CTE, the brain disease turning combat sports legends into shadows of themselves. If this shocking truth concerns you, hit the like button. Gary Goodridge, the striking legend who can't remember his fights. In the early days of Pride FC and K1 Global, Gary Big Daddy Goodridge was nothing short of a terrifying force of nature. His brutal knockouts and legendary elbow strikes made him an international superstar during the golden era of MMA. Fans worldwide marveled at his raw power and fighting spirit. But that ferocity came at a cost no fighter paycheck could ever cover. The repetitive head trauma and concussive blows he absorbed throughout his fighting career were silently accumulating, creating a ticking time bomb in his brain that would detonate years after his retirement from professional fighting. Today, Gary Goodridge is a heartbreaking shadow of the man he once was. Diagnosed with severe dementia and CTE-like symptoms, he suffers from crippling memory loss, debilitating mood swings, and significant motor function decline. He has publicly stated he doesn't remember most of his legendary fights, including the very moments that made him famous and celebrated by millions of MMA fans. The man who once stood toe-to-toe with legends like Fedor Emelianenko now struggles with the most basic tasks of daily living. His story serves as a harrowing look at the long-term effects of knockouts and the cumulative brain trauma from a career built on enduring and delivering violent impacts. Goodridge's dramatic health decline is a direct result of the repetitive head trauma he endured throughout his fighting career, a stark warning of what can happen when the human brain is treated as a punching bag in the name of entertainment. His case highlights the devastating neurological damage that can occur even in the sport's most celebrated athletes, raising serious questions about fighter safety protocols and post-career healthcare for retired MMA fighters. The brain damage symptoms he exhibits are textbook examples of advanced CTE progression, making him one of the most visible victims of combat sports brain injury. Gary's story shows the true price of those brutal K1 highlights. If this shocks you, hit the like button. Jordan Parsons, the young star whose brain told a different story. Jordan Pretty Boy. Parsons represented everything the sport wanted in a new generation star. Young, incredibly talented, and exciting to watch, he was rapidly rising through the ranks of Bellator MMA with what seemed like an unlimited future ahead of him. His fighting style combined technical precision with explosive power, making him a fan favorite in the featherweight division. But in 2016, his life was tragically cut short in a hit-and-run accident, shocking the MMA community and ending a promising career that had barely begun to blossom. What the autopsy report revealed was even more shocking than his untimely death. At just 25 years old, Jordan Parsons already had stage 2 CTE confirmed through post-mortem brain analysis. His brain showed the classic tau protein tangles and neurofibrillary degeneration typically found in much older fighters with decades more experience in contact sports. This devastating discovery meant that even a young, promising fighter in the absolute prime of his career was already suffering significant brain damage from MMA training and competition. The CTE pathology found in his brain provided concrete evidence that brain deterioration begins much earlier than previously thought. Parsons' case is particularly terrifying because it proves that CTE isn't just for battle-worn veterans. It can start destroying a fighter's brain from the very beginning of their career, long before any obvious neurological symptoms appear. His tragedy highlights the critical need for early CTE detection methods and better safety regulations in MMA training camps, where fighters absorb thousands of subconcussive blows during sparring sessions that may be even more damaging than actual fights. The young fighter's death represents a devastating loss and a wake-up call about the silent brain damage occurring in fighters throughout their careers. Jordan's case proves CTE can start young. Share this to spread awareness about fighter brain health. Tim Hague, the UFC veteran who took one punch. Too many, Tim the Thrashing Machine. Hague embodied the definition of a tough UFC heavyweight. Known throughout the MMA world for his incredible durability and heart, he faced some of the division's most feared knockout artists during his time in the world's premier mixed martial arts organization. After his UFC career ended, like many fighters struggling with the financial realities of MMA, he continued to compete across various combat sports to make a living. This path led him to a professional boxing match in 2017 that would ultimately prove fatal, highlighting the dangerous intersection of economic pressure and fighter health in combat sports. During that fateful boxing match, Hague suffered a catastrophic knockout, was immediately placed in a medically induced coma, and died just days later from traumatic brain injury. He was just 34 years old. While the single punch was the immediate cause of death, the coroner's report delivered a much more damning verdict. Hague's brain showed clear, unmistakable signs of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. The repetitive subconcussive blows from a lifetime of fighting had weakened his brain's structure and resilience, creating a vulnerable state that made it unable to withstand that final, fatal impact. Hague's tragedy represents a direct indictment of the fight culture that encourages warriors to continue competing long past the point of safety and the economic pressures that force them to prioritize income over brain health. His story exposes the devastating consequences of delayed CTE diagnosis and the lack of adequate health screening for fighters before competitions. The MMA brain injury crisis claimed another victim, highlighting the urgent need for comprehensive neurological testing and financial support systems for fighters transitioning out of competition to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Tim's death was a preventable tragedy. Subscribe for more hard-hitting truths about combat sports safety. Shawn Del Rosario, the unbeaten prospect, with a ticking time bomb in his head. Shawn Del Rosario represented the perfect MMA prospect, a seemingly unstoppable force with the world at his feet. An undefeated heavyweight with slick striking skills and a purple belt in BJJ, he displayed the kind of diverse skill set that suggested future UFC championship potential. His performances in Strikeforce were dominant and explosive, marking him as one of the most promising heavyweight fighters of his generation. But in 2013, the unthinkable happened, shocking the entire combat sports community and cutting short a career filled with unlimited potential. At just 30 years old, in the prime of his life and career, Del Rosario suffered a sudden cardiac arrest and passed away unexpectedly. While his death was officially attributed to a rare genetic heart condition, his grieving family made the courageous decision to donate his brain to the CTE Center at Boston University for research. The diagnosis that came back added another layer of tragedy to his story. Stage 2, CTE. The examination revealed significant tau protein deposition and progressive neurodegeneration, consistent with repetitive head trauma. Del Rosario's story is particularly insidious because he never showed the classic outward signs of punch-drunk syndrome or advanced neurological decline. He was young, successful, and seemingly healthy, proving that CTE is often a hidden killer, its damage frequently invisible until it's far too late for intervention. Medical researchers theorize that the chronic brain trauma from his fighting career may have exacerbated his underlying heart condition, creating a perfect storm that led to his premature death. His case demonstrates how CTE-related damage can interact with other health issues in ways we are only beginning to understand. Shawn's case shows CTE can be a silent killer. Let's get this to 100,000 views to spread CTE awareness. Rob Broughton, the fighter who lost his mind. British heavyweight Rob Broughton competed at the highest level of mixed martial arts, fighting in the UFC and establishing himself as a respected veteran on the competitive European MMA circuit. Known for his toughness and resilience, he faced some of the division's most dangerous opponents during his professional career. However, after his retirement from active competition, his life spiraled into a public nightmare that shocked those who had followed his career. His dramatic mental health decline serves as one of the most visible examples of CTE's devastating impact on a fighter's psychological well-being and quality of life. Broughton began posting bizarre, paranoid, and often violent rants on social media platforms, displaying clear signs of severe psychological distress. He spoke of elaborate government conspiracies, claimed he was being hunted by unknown entities, and eventually became homeless, living a transient existence that stood in stark contrast to his former life as a celebrated athlete. His friends and family stated that the man they knew was gone, replaced by a stranger whose personality and behavior had been completely transformed by his neurological condition. His public descent represents a textbook case of CTE-induced psychiatric symptoms. While not officially posthumously diagnosed like the others, Broughton's symptoms represent a textbook presentation of advanced CTE, severe paranoia, impulse control issues, aggression, depression, and memory loss. His heartbreaking descent into mental illness is one of the most public and disturbing examples of how CTE from MMA doesn't just destroy memory, it systematically erodes personality, destroys relationships, and shatters a person's very grip on reality. He exists today as a living ghost of his former self, a tragic casualty of the brain damage epidemic sweeping through combat sports worldwide. Rob's story is happening right now. This is the dark reality of CTE that the MMA world needs to confront. From stolen memories to shocking pre-existing damage, these CTE stories reveal a systemic problem in combat sports. The warrior spirit culture is costing fighters their minds and identities. Protecting fighter brain health is the most important fight we face, one we cannot afford to lose. Share this video to help protect fighters from preventable brain damage.